All right, Phoenix. Hey, if you guys at Phoenix, I don't know how you're situated. I don't know how you set up there for your school. If you're all kind of sitting in chairs, but if there's a way for you guys, if you're not all close together, if you could kind of maybe close it in. If you can do it in a circle, do it in a circle. You don't have to do it in a circle. But tonight is an interactive night. I think it's the last time I have you for this year, and I just want to kind of 2018. Yep. Yeah, right. This calendar year of 2018. And I wanted to just get a little intimate. I just told our folks here, the scriptures I do have, you're probably not going to like, so I'm not bringing them because I don't like them. All right. And I'm only tongue-in-cheek in that, of course. But Lisa was vulnerable. So to give you a little snapshot of we're going to be a little, you can sit right up here. You can sit right with me. Lisa mentioned something that she went through. It kind of came to a head yesterday. If you were here, she talked about it, but has been building over the last couple of weeks. And it was yesterday what she said. She said this publicly, I quit. And what she means by that is I quit. And I quit everything. I've reached my capacity. I've surpassed my capacity. I've said yes to too many things. I can't do all the things that I want to do and others want me to do. Now my what do you call it? Board, your motherboard. What do you call those computer boards? Yeah, what is it? Yeah, the motherboard of my computer screen just overheated, and I'm done. And she meant it. And I just, I don't know. I'm just gonna, go on a little bit of faith here, and assume that all of us have been to that point at one time or another in our lives. And she made a statement, and I didn't believe her. She said, I haven't been like this in years, and here's what I don't mean I don't believe her. This is not something that's all that new for us as human beings. And I wanted to have an interactive thing. We're finishing up the semester, and then we start a new semester in January. I just want to, now, just to be clear, I don't get paid to do this. So I'm gonna make a statement here, and I want you to know this isn't wallet-based. I've been here on the school since its launch. Was part of the first year. Watched the whole design. Have been in on the design right from the get-go. And the launch was at 2014. Jane, when was our 13 or 12 even, right? It might have been 12. When was John Early? It was 2012, right? It's the year I moved here, right? Yes. So here's the blanket statement. Since 2012, so that's 6 years of Journey University, I've seen pushing, what's the number, 20 or 30 people quit midstream. It might be more than that, might be less than that. I don't think it's less than that. And of those 20 or 30 people that I've seen quit midstream, there's been 2 that I was in agreement with them quitting. I want you to think about that a little bit because in our country, quitting is always an option. We can always quit. And my question to us, and Lisa raised it today, what is our process of deciding what it is we put our time to and what is we don't put our time to? Where is our boundaries? One of the things instead of teaching, I want to interact. I want to propose something. First of all, I want to take away your permission to quit from me. You don't have it. Phoenix, if you're in there, you don't have it. If you choose to step out, and here's scripturally what I'm going to say to you: at least let your yes be yes. Who starts a building without counting the cost? And what I've seen is hands down. Now, first of all, the people of the 20 or 30 people that I've seen step out of the school midstream, it's twice that who've thought about it, who wanted to, right? And every one of those ones who didn't, every single one of those ones who didn't, were glad that they didn't. And at least one of the things that says into our heart, and I'm going to open this up because this is an atmospheric thing, at least what we have to live on and walk on is I saw it through. At least. Right? And again, I can show you all the scriptures. We're not going to like them. Right? They're pretty rough. Right? Then I'm going to kind of open this up a little bit. And if you guys are be interactive, feel free to, turn me down and talk about it, right? If you need to for tonight. Feel free. My phone's sitting right here, Joe. Judy, feel free to text a point or a question. I'm going to keep you guys right on here because this is an important thing, I believe. And the perspective I want to give, one of the things Lisa and I talked about after the service today, is and something that I'm personally currently working through myself, is what do I say yes to? Let me add, more than that, what am I supposed to do? Well, last week, had you all here, we talked about purpose. For me, what is my purpose? If I had the whiteboard on here, I'd work through the whiteboard. When I'm deciding what gets part of my 168, not just what, but who. It's driven by two things. One, purpose. Two, and. Samaritan, good Samaritan, which is still underneath my purpose. Does that mean that I can't allow my day to get interrupted? No. The Samaritan, the thing I love about that story is we had a priest, a worshiper, and a dirty rat Samaritan. Right? The two church guys were too busy with their purpose to stop and help somebody on the side of the road. So we always have that in mind. I hope you never hear a sermon preached by anybody that when we're going to be so purpose driven. I don't think, again, I got his name wrong, but I've never read Rick Warren's Purpose Driven Life, but I doubt Rick Warren would say, in your purpose driven life, help no one. Unless it's within your structure, 168, you have it set out, the 2 hours set aside to go help someone. That's not what he's talking about. But if we're not intentional about how we designate what we do with our time, perseverance is going to get really hard. Because what's going to happen is you're going to say yes to too many things. Now, I'm a working theory. If you said yes to this school, is because you've got a hunger for something. Hungry people tend to say yes. Hungry people generally have a thing like this: Father, use me. Father, I want to grow. And guess what happens when people have a hunger and it says use me? There's a lot of willing accomplices out there. They say, you want to be used? I got you. There is a big difference to what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to get done, and what needs to get done. We'll let that sit there just a little bit. If we all made this list, if we just started with ourselves, all right, there's no islands here, right? I know you guys, I'm starting to know you all fairly well. None of us are islands, so we have people around us, which is a good thing. I bet you have people around you that think they know what you should be doing with your time. If you have kids, your kids, I bet they think they know what you should be doing with your time. Spouses, bosses, friends, coworkers, partners, dogs. What's our process? What are we saying yes to? Yes people are great, but yes people turn to no people eventually if they don't have some sort of what I'm going to use as a healthy boundary. Now, those are nasty words, healthy boundary. The apostles talk about a situation where in the Acts early church, and respect, and Phoenix, listen to this, and all of you sitting here, I'm going to prophesy over you a little bit here. This is where, if you're not here now, this is where you're headed. There is a time coming in your life, if you're not there, where you're going to have to decide what are you putting your hands to and what you're putting your time to. The apostles had to, the apostles at some point had to decide. What they said is, it is not good that we what? Do the dishes? Is that what they said? Serve tables, I think is what they said. What's the scripture say, Jane? Or Dr. Bob? What's the scripture say? The apostles said, it is not good that we serve tables. Is that what it was? Yeah. Serve tables, right? What were they saying? We're too good to serve tables. Does anybody think they're really saying that? Right? Anybody think that Peter, who Jesus said, in your younger years, you went where you're going to want to go. In your older years, I'm going to send you where you don't want to go. They weren't saying that I'm too good to serve tables. In fact, I'm a doubter that they just plain quit serving tables. But what the apostles were onto was, for me to accomplish my purpose, I'm going to have to learn what to say yes to and what to say no to. I think I started right off the bat with this class, and I think with you guys. For you guys to be successful in this year, in this school, you're already going to have to start doing this. And the people that have stepped out here did not count the cost. Say, holy smokes, there's a time slot that I now have to rearrange. And if you've not yet rearranged that time slot, I want to almost implore you, make sure that over this next break, you get your time slots reorganized. Because fatigue is a tough thing. Physical fatigue is one thing. Mental fatigue, spiritual fatigue is another. You guys are going to be getting, it's part of the reason why I really didn't want to give a really big teaching tonight. I bet you've been getting a lot of teaching. You guys caught up to all the teaching you've been getting? How were you set with videos? Have we been doing videos? Monday night's video night. Yeah, right. Yeah. We'll keep the Q&A thing going too, if you would. If you have any questions, again, I want this to be interactive. So my question to you guys is, what is your process to, where are you at? By the way, did I give a homework assignment? And it was to write down your purpose. I think you might have missed that. Yeah. Did we do that? I see a lot of sheepish looks. Did anybody write down their purpose? Phoenix, if you're here, and I know you're on this, if you wrote down, if you put time in and it's got your purpose, somebody text me some of their purposes. I'd like to hear it. Notice what Lisa said today. She said, she challenged me a little bit. I had to go to Google. She said this: we were born to worship. Like, verse and scripture, chapter and verse, please. I looked it up. How you guys doing on that, by the way? Taking everybody's word for everything? Because the great Lisa Lowmaster made a statement. Did we just say, okay, that's the way it is, now I'm born to worship, here we go? When you hear something from me, when you hear something from somebody else, when that challenges you, do you take the time to study it? You know what Scripture says we were born for? Dr. Bob, you with me? You follow me on this at all? Okay. Did you? Can you? Did anybody else say? I want to check into that. Well, I Googled it. Let me ask you this: can anybody tell me what Scripture says? What our purpose was? Why we were born? Well, what did he say? What did you write? You got something? What I found was we were created for His pleasure. We were created for His glory. And so now what I'm able to do is I'm able to hear what Lisa said. And this was a neat little exercise for me. I did it hey, wait a minute. And I could see a depth of the topic of worship that I didn't see before. If we have a concept of worship being, was why she avoided the thing about music. We're talking about perseverance, like discipline, right? There's another word you had in there, JC. I keep forgetting it. Commitment. When we hit a wall to the things we've said yes to, and something inside us says quit. Consistency. What stops us cold? If I'm following Lisa's thread today, as I'm understanding that, I was born to glorify God. I was born for His purpose. There is now an order that's starting to set up into my footsteps, into my eyes, into my hands. See what I'm saying? There's a priority that takes place where I'm starting to learn what it means to serve man and serve God. And listen, this is a delicate little balance because there are many times God is going to ask us to serve man. I can tell you among my assignments is it not to serve this house? Right? I serve, believe it or not, I serve you guys. Right? 8 o'clock in the morning. Who's here at 8 o'clock? Yeah. Every 8 o'clock. I took a month off. Catherine called it No Church November for Dave. I took a month off, and for me to start organizing Phoenix. I guess you may or may not have known this, because I was finding a hard time organizing. I would say, the list, the to-do list. There was too many people asking things of me. Does anybody feel like that? What do you do? What do you do? Meltdown. Dude. Brian said I melt down. Phoenix, listen, let's kind of sit there because if this isn't a me too, in some respect I feel sorry for you because listen, the longer we put off meltdowns turn to crash. So the people that have sometimes the greatest capacity to suffer have what happens is now there is a we call it a mental breakdown, right? I'm going to tell Lisa this. I really admire her. I'm proud of her, not in a condescending way, for pressing through yesterday. Because had she not pressed through yesterday, and she stayed in that place, and she wasn't willing to walk through it, and she just kicked that can down the road. What that turns into now is mental breakdown territory, right? Because what we have is this. It is constant. I want this from you. I need this from you. And for me, I want. Please raise your hand. I want this to be interactive. I don't want to do all the talking. What Jesus is teaching me in this season here is somehow He was able to go through all that. How did He do it? Come on, man. You answered the question right. Well done. Mary said He went away. Phoenix, listen to this concept. What Jesus did is He got alone. Do you know sometimes He got alone all night? One of the things we learn, and part of the reason why I didn't bring scripture, because the scriptures that I was looking at in this was all, to me, I'm going to put it this way, pointed to a mental toughness. If any veterans, one veteran I know of, let me explain something on what you can learn. Military is primary way to learn this, and especially if you're a grunt. You get to learn what your capacity is. That in a way that you don't learn without pushing yourself. I would suggest that there's healthy pushing yourself and there's unhealthy pushing yourself. I would suggest, and part of the reason I didn't bring the scripture is because Jesus is going to push you, man. The difference? So she asked, how do I know the difference? And I'll have to answer that for me personally, right? For me, and this is part of the reason why I did this teaching last week, I've always got to, I'm learning and now being aggressively taught that that's why I put the purpose up on top. For me, it's going to start with that. So if Jesus, if he's going to push, I mean, who saw David Hogan? Why do you think that guy works out like he does? He committed to physical fitness because physical fitness was required for him to complete his mission, right? If what we're going to find out is, I believe, that there will be some stamina things that he is going to offer for us to do that are within our purpose, and some of it might be such things as serving others. I get that. But it's the scripture calls it this, as unto the Lord. To me, I'm going to stumble around this a little bit because this is a process to learn how to do this. I'll give it here. Maybe I'll have a better way to do this. The first level for me is nonsense. Is there anything in my life that's just plain nonsense? If I'm beginning to be pressed and pushed, and right now, I don't know about you, but I feel pressed and pushed, right? I'm feeling pressed and pushed to the point where I'm starting to get an attitude about it, right? And you know, and I hope what we're partnering in on this, Brian, is my attitudes with the kingdom of darkness. I'm being pressed and pushed now where I'm starting to say, you better quit picking on me. Because I'm going to tell my Father. Right? But in the process of being pressed and pushed, I'm pulling back, and if I had my board, I'd put there, among the first things I'm looking at getting rid of my life is nonsense. What's nonsense? I love what Bill Johnson described it. When he's feeling weak, he's very cautious of the stuff that he allows people to put into his eardrums. And I would say he's not even talking about people. So for me, I'm starting to tone out nonsense. So if people are going to come to me with nonsense, I'll say nonsense. I hope we all, we're all going to have to learn how to do this individually. But for me, it's the same old crap. Offense. For me, it's going to start with veterans of the faith walking in offense. I'm going to call that nonsense. I'm not going to talk, young believers. I'm going to help walk through that. But if I'm hearing the same offense from a veteran of the faith over and over and over again, I'm probably not listening to it anymore. I know that might offend you. It's okay. Be offended. You might handle it. You may have a grace for that I don't have. Right now, I don't have a grace for that. I don't want to hear it. Why am I talking offense with you, veteran believer? This is not Christianity 909. This is Christianity 101. Right? I think Sean's actually going to go there a little bit. So there's that. Nonsense. I don't know about you, but I have a bad habit of having the television on. There is an awful lot of nonsense coming out of that television. Right? I've had to turn the television off. I'm a football guy. You guys probably know this. I can have 12 to 14 to 15 hours of football on in my house a week. while I'm up doing my business. But you know what's coming on through that airwaves during football games? A lot of stinking nonsense, demonic commercials, right? Advertisements for movies. I'm speaking for myself, right? What music are we listening to? Now I run iMatter, soon to be broken up into, spread out in a huge way. So I go through series where I have to listen to a lot of nonsense and fight through the nonsense. So there might be a season in my life I've got to cut down listening to Five Finger Death Punch, the nonsense. So I would suggest that when we're feeling like, man, I'm now to the breaking point where I'm beginning to melt down. I have said yes to too many things. I've said yes to too many voices in my life. This is a voice, in my opinion, that you said yes to that's one you don't want to see it through. It ain't going to be easy. I'll tell you right now. You think the adversary wants you here? I can tell you he doesn't. I said to a group the other day, hell is paying attention. Hell is paying attention to what we're doing. What happens if something is going to happen? Now we're now in a class. You guys are in a special forces setting here, whether you know it or not. If there's things that are going to come through. I mean, what you've just heard. I mean, think of who you've had. There's things that I can't speak. Things that I see, things that I'm not speaking. There's a situation here. Check this one out. Hogan and I at lunch sat there and had 2 hours together. The last 45 minutes I don't even remember. Did I tell you this already? But at one point, I looked at him and I made a statement. And the two of us just stared at each other and said, oh boy. We knew intuitively he knew what I was talking about. It wasn't an illegal statement, but we realized, oh man. What happens if the purposes that you are saying yes to that are of heaven are designed to alter the history of your atmosphere, the region, or the world? Do we really think that's not possible? Do you really think that it is not possible that a decision that you and I are making, something as simple as the discipline that it requires to come into a Special Forces SEAL Team 6 training outfit, something we're going to pick out of here, something we're going to pick from here, that that's going to embed into our spirit, that we're going to now impart maybe into somebody else. A word of prayer. This goes right into the why do we push through, right? A concept, a revelation, an understanding, a discernment that God is saying, I'm going to tell you in particular because you are going to come into contact with somebody that needs to hear this. And the person you come in contact that needs to hear this, I'm going to use as a mouthpiece to shift an atmosphere and a culture. I'm not going to get that from Monday Night Football. Well, Hogan, yeah. No, go ahead, please.
I just wanted, before we get further, when I started getting to these points where I just have a meltdown, and it was one recently I was in my truck just screaming at the enemy.
Poco show to the
I've drawn a line.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no more. So I got to a point, and it's part of the growth, I think, where saying yes so much that, like we talk about, like I love Giants,
Yep.
but I haven't watched any games.
Giants fan. Well, it's a good year to miss.
I don't watch any TV or anything. It's like what started happening is it started filling up. Any time that I had that might have been idle time or any time just to chill or whatever is gone. So there was a part of me that began to get upset about that, and I began to, just feel resentment, like,
Well, I'm going to give you that.
anymore.
Yeah.
But what happened was, and I am working through it, because this is all for a purpose, you know. I mean, and Pastor Scott kind of laid that out last year, and it's kind of coming to fruition. And I know it's tough right now, but it's going to be a payoff. So when I'm having these, when I say meltdown, it's the point. It's usually Wednesdays or Thursdays when one more thing has come up, or there's you know, you gotta stay and work until 6:30 when you've been up since 4:30 in the morning. You know, one of those deals. And it's like, well, gosh, I was going to do my laundry tonight. When am I going to do that? Well, gosh, maybe if I do it at 5:30 Saturday morning before I go to work, throw a load in, get back. You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I hope you caught a lot of that. First of all, you know, we know Brian here. We're talking to a guy here that has an audience greater than most of the people I know. I don't personally know people that has an opportunity to connect to more people than this man. Hundreds in a week, and certainly in any given month. And what he's talking about is the runaway freight train of the, I think I put it on the board last week, it's the hustle and bustle, maybe, and the requirements and the requests. And one of the things that he mentioned was one of the things that was stolen from him in a short, I would say a snapshot of time, is a quiet time. That's actually a really nice question. Lisa referred to Romans 12:1 this morning. Romans 12:1, brothers and sisters, I beseech you, present yourselves a holy sacrifice. Or present yourself holy and acceptable. It's been one of the staples personally of my life. And I want to encourage us all on this one. This is a huge warning sign. If the hustle and bustle, the things we've said yes to, steal our quiet time. See, Jesus said no to that. And, you know, I want to encourage us all, if we're finding that, and now listen, Jesus had to do wild things sometimes, man, right? I just read 2 days ago, he got up well before the sun was up and went off alone. And then the disciples got up, hey, where'd they go? They came and found him. Wouldn't that irritate you? How would you like that? I'm going to go up at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to get off, be alone with the Father. By the way, I'm going to go somewhere else a little bit more with this. I want to give a gift to you on this. And then my girls get up at 5:30. I'm not done with my time, and my girls come in, hey, guys, what are you doing? It's stuff to do. Hey, my phone starts ringing, right? How would we like that? So offer number one is make sure that if we don't have the habit of our quiet time, this isn't going to work. I know another way to put it. I don't care the life situation you're in. You're busy, great. Say no to something. Learn that you don't need 10 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep, 7 hours of sleep. I don't know. Each of us is different, right? If you're married, young children, work something out with your wife. And make sure if you do that for her too, right? The other thing I want to offer to you is what I find is God is the same God of 5 loaves and 2 fishes with our time, as long as, I'm going to use the word, we're integral with our time. But if we're going to take our time and just cast it into the wind, you're going to find that 5 loaves and 2 fishes analogy doesn't apply, because you're not going to have enough time. Chris Valentin, when he came here in whatever year it was, he and I had a couple of offline conversations. It was pretty neat. And I ended up going to him. I said, bro, okay, I hear what you're saying. How do you juggle the demands of so many people wanting nonstop? I need something. Yeah, this, right. And this is what he said to me. He said, David, which I wish he didn't call me that. I'm Dave. He said, I've had the last 18 years to learn that Jesus has given me enough time to do all that he is asking me to do. I want to sit that right there. This morning, we in prayer, I forthcoming, everything's about Jesus. Spending all this time alone, Saturday, 6 hours alone, 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everything shut down, on my face, beseeching, crying out, doing a little yelling. Everything's coming down to Jesus. Period. Chris made that point. I've learned that I have enough time to do everything that Jesus is asking me to do. If Jesus is asking us to serve people, where did I see you just serving somebody? Yeah, new song. I can tell you he's going to ask you to serve people. And then he said, I've had to learn to say no, can't do it, won't do it. And that people just don't understand what it's like to be me. I'm just not going to understand what it's like to be me. Going through a short little season where, personally, I feel people are a little edgy about how I'm using my time right now. And I have to be okay with people not being happy with me. I'm okay with it. I said something to somebody a couple weeks ago. It's okay. I give you freedom to think less of me. It's all right. I get it. You can. I'm not offended. Because I wasn't giving them what they wanted. Now, I don't know how to do this in perfection, but I can tell you I am not going to be able to do everything that Jesus is asking me to do if Jesus and I aren't talking about what I'm supposed to be doing. Which gets back to the time of the quiet time. I mean, those of us, by the way, those of us who are sitting here tend to be servants. Servant hearts. Yes, people. If we don't learn the difference between what has to be done and what we're supposed to do, we're in trouble. Because there's a lot that has to be done. Lisa hit that today. What happens is when all joints don't supply, right? So if we have joints that aren't supplying in our lives, are we supposed to do their job for them? How long can I go about doing other people's job for them and do mine? I don't know if this gets to the persevere thing a little bit, but when I run into the persevere, is that the word you used today? What was you? There was a tenacity to it, but it was like a tenacity not to quit, right? How do you press through? Did I read that right? What JC is talking about, is how do we develop inside that set jaw tenacity that we're just not going to step back. We're going to press through, and this I don't have a secret formula. What I do have is Jesus, and what I do have is Jesus' model, and what I do have is that concept of purpose, my destiny purpose, and the start of my relationship with Jesus and what Jesus has for me to do, and realizing that other people have a lot of things for me to do. How long do you think my wife is going to be happy with me if I just serve everybody else and not her? Phoenix, you out there? Hey, somebody from Phoenix just text me and say, hey, we're here, Dave. Good stuff. Dave, that stinks. I don't know. Just let me know you're there. This is the interactive portion of the evening. you guys might have turned me off already, and you're talking about this. Hey, Joe, if you're doing that, I want to applaud you on do that. Lead that discussion yourself, but give me some feedback. Let me know how it's going. Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on what you're supposed to do versus what you need to do?
Yeah. Serena asked me, elaborate on what I'm supposed to do and what I need to do. See if I'm going to take a different angle. I think I shared this already in that, first 30 days, and I'm entering into another 30 days of sequestering. So I'm going to continue on with my sequester throughout December. I'm going to be relatively unavailable to people. There he is. All right, hey bro, question: what is? All right, I'll get this one. I'll get to that one, Joe. Great. Oh, good stuff. Again, back to this, the question of what needs to be done and what I'm supposed to do. So what it started with me was I couldn't tell. So again, I went into the month of November with so much volume in my head, and I think you must know what I'm talking about. It was just a constant draw from a constant volume of requests and needs, and I would articulate it as, in my view, things not going well, things needing to work, things needing to progress. A laundry list, a to-do laundry list that involved my family, that involved my company, that involved the church, that involved iMatter, that involved everything I'm putting my hands to. Everything was just so many things that didn't seem to be getting done. And because of that, the volume in my head, the to-do list in my head was so overwhelming. Now people want counseling and marriage counseling and this counseling and that counseling and perspective and, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So now I have an all volume of people coming to wanting time to give them perspective and counsel. Now, I'm not hearing heaven very good. All I'm hearing is the volume of thing. So at that point, I'd say, what's the difference between what I'm purpose to do and what needs to be done? I don't know. All I know is I got this list of stuff that needs to be done, right? So what I did was I pulled back. For me, it was enough. And I withdrew, which is what I think Jesus did. Now, Jesus seemed to be able to do it in the night, in a few hours, right? It took me 10 days for the voices to begin to downplay. Now, what was also going on at the same time is I had prayed for the gift of word of knowledge. So now I was getting now that too. Now I was like, oh man, oops, I wish I didn't get that stuff. I can't even process that too much. By the next week, the voices had gotten down to about 3/4. Do you guys know what I mean by the voices? Right? I'm not schizophrenic. Right? I'm not talking about, very, right? On the opening of the women's conference that Friday morning, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, a little bit late for me, because generally when the Lord reaches me, it's usually in the middle of the night. I usually hit a 2, 3 o'clock is what my standard thing. But at 5 o'clock, I woke up, and I all of a sudden noticed that the heavens opened, that there was a clear channel. And it's the first time in months, believe it or not, that I recognized, the channel's opened up. And this is what he said to me: you do what you can do, and I'll do what I can do. And when he speaks like that, Serena, there's a download of understanding. So I get, when the Lord speaks to me, almost exclusively what he gives me is a millisecond interpretation of what that looks like. So what he showed me was the 4, 5, 6, 7 things that I could have already done that I didn't do, that was holding him back from doing what he could do. And do you know, every one of those things had nothing to do with this house? Had nothing to do with iMatter. You know what it had to do with? My own kite getting off the ground. Remember the story I told you about the 2 kites? If you guys, I think I've told you guys the story very quickly. 3 dreams, back to back, millisecond dreams. Jumped one. The dream was I had 2 kites, one up in the air with this left hand, and the kite said helping others. I had another kite, couldn't get it off the ground with my right hand. I just there helping myself, wouldn't get off the ground. Woke up, Whoa, fell right back to sleep, redreamed the same thing. 2 kites, one up in the air, helping the others. The other one I couldn't get off the ground, helping myself right here, couldn't get it off the ground. Woke up, what's going on here? Fell asleep, instantly dreamt the same thing again, except this time, the kite on the left hand, my left hand, was now flying up by itself. I was so good with helping other people. I had both my hands on my kite, and I'm trying to get my kite off the ground. And I could not get my kite off the ground, helping myself. All of those things that he showed me in that split second, you do what you can do, and I'll do what I can do. What he was saying is, you are not taking care of yourself. That's probably big. For us, we might see things differently. I don't tend to be like what you call a self-absorbed guy. Like when I talk with people, I'm not going to turn the conversation in about talking about me. Every story isn't about me, right? I don't want to do that. So if you lean on the self-absorbed thing, that's okay. Your thing may be, you might have your kite up pretty good, but the helping others' kite might be flat on the ground. I'm so self-absorbed, I can't get out of my own way. You might have to think of yourself less, right? I don't know. I doubt anybody in here fits that. I know some people it does fit. For us, especially if we're hungry and going after the Father, generally, we're so used to saying yes to the people around us that our kite's on the ground. And I'm telling you, I would say it's going to start there. And I would suggest a few things. Number one, if you can't tell the difference between what needs to be done and what he's asking you to do, my thing is, find the gaps in your time when you can open up the conduit to heaven. I've taught this a bunch of times. I've been doing this for years. For me, I fall asleep like this. Father, here I am. This is your turn to talk, period. And then I shut up. And I wake up in the morning, and if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm right there. What I used to do, and I think what many of us now do, is we go to sleep and, hey, stuff's going on. Got to do this, got to do that, that. So might read a book, might watch a television program. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you shut the voices off if you're not shutting the voices off. Wake up in the middle of the night, haven't done this, haven't done that, got to do this, got to do that. Can I quote Graham Cook? Just stop it. Don't do that. Right? I would suggest to you that nothing is getting fixed at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're, hey, I don't worry about this, haven't done this, haven't done that. Now, sometimes we might have an epiphany, a Holy Spirit epiphany. I'll give you that, right? But most generally, if we're walking up stressed about what's going on in the middle of the night, stop. This is how, in my opinion, I'm just going to present this. I got this from Romans 12. Father, and I don't have to say no to everything else anymore. I used to have to say no to everything else. No, shut up, get away. Not doing it. No, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm going to tell you, this is what it looks like, and I'm going to tell you, in a millisecond, you're going to feel it. Do this with me, because we're going to open up the portal of heaven in a millisecond right now. Ready? There was nothing else on my mind. Milliseconds. There's times where, and again, this is not the answer, probably. I don't have a secret formula. Because it's Jesus, man. Jesus is my secret formula. So now I can sit there. I know in a millisecond, I can get out. Here I am. It's interesting, in this last 6 months, I've had a lot of difficulty doing that all of a sudden. This has been, Jane, we've known each other since 12, right? We met in 12. So when I moved here, you guys moved back. 13 is when you moved back, right? So I've been talking about this since you've known me, because I've been doing this, I think, about 10 years. For the first time in my life, I'm pushing the panic button now. It's why I did what I did the last 2 months. That wasn't working for me. Why? I'm allowing too many voices in my head. Cannot do it. Isn't going to work. Right? So I do that. Yeah. I think he was just saying good job. The question was from last week. Thank you, Joe. So when I do that, my general rule of thumb is from 10 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, the needs play no role in my mind. Zero, and the times alter. Sometimes Rob and I stay up a little later. Sometimes we go to bed a little earlier. It's in that. But that equates to 1/3 of my life is now worry-free. And I find now I'm getting back in the game. Now I for whatever reason that was getting stolen from me. What I was not able to do is what Jesus is trying to show me how to do it now. So how do I get back into the game with every bit of zeal that I had before, but not get there? And I'm going to tell you, part of my thing is you're going to see my tolerance for nonsense is probably not here. And what's worse about it is I'm finding scriptural backing of it. Now I feel like I've got the legal authority now to say no more nonsense. Cut your nonsense. People are going to be hearing some direct, straight talk. Veterans of the faith. Don't come to me with your nonsense. Unless you want me to let you know, hey, no, what are you doing? Why are you bringing that to me? Go to hell with that stuff. Listen to that word. Take to hell that accusation. I don't want it. Bring your accusations to me. Right? Don't bring your, and I'm to the television screen, don't bring your pornography to me, through your commercials. Don't bring your demon movies to me. Right? This is not again, it's not probably an easy black and white answer on this. But to me, I don't know another way to do this. Did I get it? I didn't do this with this group. I need to remind me to start off next year or pretty quickly the next year to do the building your team. I didn't do building a team with you guys, did I? I'll close out with this. I think we got done. I'll bring this pretty quickly in the next year. Part of this is going to help with all of us is how do you build your team? What do you mean by your team? What do I mean by my team? I build a team. And you know who's the captain of my team? Yes. Yep. But you know who my team is built around to serve? Me. Oh. You arrogant, egotistical, prideful, dirty rat, who do you think you are? Do you know the people on my team who are on my team who I serve? See if you can follow it. Them. It's a every time I bring it a little bit better, in my opinion. It's a model of what Jesus lived and what I see and how Paul lived, right? I noticed that Jesus frequently took the three alone, right? There's some reasons why he did that. There's a trust level he had for those guys, right? He knew he could give those guys some things that he couldn't give to the 12. Now, part of the reason why is in the 12, hey, notice Andrew, Peter's brother, wasn't in that? I find that fascinating, right? But Judas was in the 12. We had a zealot in the 12. You know what a zealot is? Zealous guy. Balls to the wall. Ooh, can I say that? Crud. Sorry about that. Strike that word. What's a polite way to say that? Gung-ho, right? Yep. More. Nah, I can't say that either. But Jesus actually got us away along with the 12 too, right? Jesus gave to the 11 John 14 through John 17. Jesus asked the 3 to stay up with him and pray. Jesus with the 3 brought him up to the Mount of Transfiguration, right? So when I'm talking about building my team, and this will help in particular, when I'm in a place like where I'm desperate, I can reach out to my team. Because can I tell you, people that aren't on my team, they can't handle me. I'm just telling you. You don't ask me what you think if you don't want what I'm thinking if you don't want to know. Valentin said it. If we're going to be really after it, if we're going to be really honest with ourselves and speak things. I'm in a process right now. If I'm speaking something into existence, right? So if I'm going to speak now in straight vulnerability, where atmosphere, everything I speak, as far as I'm concerned, the atmosphere is going to obey. There's people I can't trust with that. Because I'm going to say some things that is not common. I'm walking in some spots that's not common. It's not traditional, just tell you. So did Jesus. So did Paul. In the end times, knowledge is on the increase. Right? I said some things to David Hogan that I'm telling you, I've not spoken out loud to anybody else, and I'm not gonna. And it was a single sentence. And we just sat there looking at each other. Oh, boy. Whoa. You're on it. Yeah. No. No, I build it on where it says 1, which is us, 3, 12, 70 masses. And what I've learned to grow, then I have a vertical authority, the Godhead, and then our horizontal authority, the people that are over us. And I call it like the fivefold, our bosses, and people that we choose to let in authority over us. And I tell a story about Coker, right? So just I just recently asked Charlie Coker to hold me account on some things, right? So it's super important, because if we have people who have no agenda for us. So the people that are on my 3 and probably my 12 has no agenda for me other than heaven, period. And I mean period. And I can tell that because if I don't behave a certain way to people that are maybe in the 70, and now they say, well, we're offended with Dave. The people that are on my inner circle, I can't offend them. Why? They know me. My opinion is nobody should be offended with me. I got to tell you, the way I view it, you guys will love this, I don't think anybody should be offended with me ever. I really don't see it. Why would you be offended with me? I don't get it. How can I be offensive? Doesn't even make sense to me. The people who know me aren't going to be offended with me. The people who are on your team will not be offended with you. You can't offend them. They know you. They know your heart. Is your heart for heaven? How can you offend anybody? Might offend the world. Then they can look you in the eye. Why can I stand up in front of a crowd of 5,000 kids and look at them and have them shout me down to the point where I can't even be heard? I can't even ask them a question because 5,000 kids are just raw. There's Dad. Why is that? Same thing. This is cool stuff, man. I think I bounced around a little bit, but I'll include this, and then we're going to let the worship start. Don't quit. Don't do it. My opinion is, if you're thinking about quitting school, please come talk to me. And I have a base. I don't use the word can't, by the way. It's not in my vocabulary. So it's only can't when I say can't. I do say won't. It's never can't. I want to beseech you, brothers and sisters. And this yes, see this one out. See this yes out. And if you need help, listen. Purpose, this is my purpose. If you need help, I will help. It's worth it. You are worth it. Love you guys, man. I did all the talking again. Darn. Joe texted me. Oh, anointing and mantle. Joe, I'll hit that next session, anointing and mantle. That's a really good one, man. It's going to take time.